Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah. What's up? How was your week? The ice is finally thawing, or I'd say fully thawed, mostly thawed. It takes a while in Cincinnati when it snows like over an inch. But after battles through it out of my parking lot, it's been getting better. It's getting better. Um, but no food corner. Sorry. I've been eating, but just nothing spectacular. Drink corner though. How about that? I'm not a drink champ. Don't call me Nori. But I had a couple IPAs. I'm kind of a little IPA guy. Sue me. But let's see. What did I get? It was like New Belgium or something. It was triple. And then what else did I get? Mad Tree had a thing called Phantom House. And then I took a shot of vodka for Ukraine and Russia. You feel me? So yeah, I mean, it's been a good week. We're on the up. But we got some news. So we can just get into that, That's why you're here, right? A little light banter. Heavy news. That's what it's all about, right? Update on the Freedom Convoy 2022. Essentially, it's gotten bigger. They've been hitting more stops. They've turned Ottawa into just a loiter squad. I don't know. They've been getting to it, yeah. Let's see. Some of the stuff I've seen. I'm just gonna give you the highlight. There were reports of homeless shelters more or less just getting raided by protesters who wanted to come in and get food. That's a big one. There have been, let's see, Nazi swastikas. There have been loud honking horns in the middle of the night, along with fireworks. There's been Confederate flags. I mean, it's been a rowdy mix. And not to mention, like a virus, it's kind of spreading. I mean, their funding has been cut, then sent to another thing. I think it was like Go Send Go or something is the new one they're on now. But essentially, it's really become an international effort. A lot of hogs here in the U.S. have been funding and giving money, sending support, and they've been kind of taking the ball and running with it. They've clogged up major thoroughfare in Ottawa. It's kind of spread out to other cities. I want to say North Dakota, Michigan has been affected, as well as Montana. Yes. And I mean, potentially it's kind of been going down throughout, this week as well into this weekend. Big concern is it's Super Bowl stuff, in terms of transport and backups. That's going to affect traffic. So it's no good. I mean, it's a bad scene this weekend potentially for people who are either trucking or just commuting in that area. So hopefully, that gets resolved. I mean, they are talking about doing things, and it's kind of weird. Like, it's frustrating. I say weird, but I mean frustrating, because I mean we turn the clocks back. We've seen protests over civil rights and things of that nature, and just ongoing. The trope is the minute these things get set up, they just get broken and busted down. But then you see this, and it's like nothing. There's just been not much of shit. 25 arrests, 1,500 tickets. So, I mean, those are some stats, I guess, right? And I mean, I saw a clip where the police were going door to door, handing out pamphlets to people that they knew were going to be protesting, or they had a high likelihood. And they was like, hey, here's how you protest correctly. Like, they're gonna listen. So, I mean, shit's wild. I don't like it, but at the same time, a protest is a protest. It is something very interesting to cover. They are seemingly very sophisticated. They even had talks about doing tow trucks to tow the trucks. Makes sense. Very level 1 play. But it turns out that people were a step ahead, and they were doing online threats to a bunch of tow companies, just threatening them if they did anything that shit would go down. So, I mean, Who knows? I mean, touche, anti-vax, anti-mask people. You looks like you're winning this round, and plus, it's seemingly a good time too in this maelstrom too, because I mean, COVID, Omicron's kind of peaked. Have you peaked, Omicron? Looks like you have. No new dishes. What's up? Which is good, but I think that kind of momentum. I mean, you see it here in the States. The COVID burnout is very real. A lot of like even I think what is it? California is lifting their like some of their mandates with the school shit. I mean, it's different. Things are changing, and I understand that. So I think it is kind of a sign of the times thing. I mean, that being said, getting disorderly, keeping people up all night over bullshit like this. Not to mention when 90% of the truckers in the union who are trucking right now have the vaccine. They're vaccinated. They're able to do this because they know that they can't dodge this. Whether it's here or in America, they have to cross the border, so therefore they have to be vaccinated. So I mean, really, this is like a 10% problem that has just been blown up, and not to mention people have kind of globbed onto it as well. Like it's not just about them making anti-vax mandates and all that shit. It's now about climate change. It's now about Trudeau leaving office. It's like so many things now. So I mean, it's getting bigger, I guess. I mean, I'll keep it covered. When I deem appropriate, I'll give you a little trickle. Because it's bigger than hip hop. Maybe, who knows? But let's see. Other news I got here. It's a bit of a fact check. Also, I got that last blip from CNN. But this is a bit of fact check from USA Today. False claim that Biden administration is distributing $30 million of crack pipes. This has been an ongoing thing, and it's definitely like a bit of misinformation, misunderstanding. But I've seen some of my friends even post about it. And essentially what had happened was the Biden administration had a federal grant program aimed at reducing health risks associated with drug use. This is a big program. There's a lot of steps to it. It's like a 75-page thing, rollout. But essentially, some Republicans zeroed in and blasted the part about safe smoke kits, and they just condensed that down to saying, "Oh my God, we're spending $30 million of taxpayer dollars for crack pipes for crackheads," and they just posted this, blasted it, and it moved. So that's kind of how the traction grew, but that's not what this is. Essentially, the crack pipes that are being distributed are things, it's in a kit, and this is not in every kit everywhere. It's not fully across the whole rollout, but there's a part of it where it's just they are stems with a mouthpiece that you can use. And people go, "Oh my God, that's crazy. Why would you just do that?" And it's because people do not I feel like there's this level of privilege, elitism, I don't know what the word is, but just they don't understand that that's that issue right there. Someone showing them kindness and helping them do something so that they don't have to resort to smoking out of a plastic bottle or smoking out of a tin can. That is something that is helping their overall health. That is a good thing to do for your community. It is not funding crack. Crack is an inevitable thing. Drugs are an inevitable thing. You will not just click, snap your fingers, and it's gone. That just doesn't work. It just doesn't work like that. And I think there's people who see these kind of projects, I've seen it with the needle thing and the Narcan thing, and people go, "Oh my God, you're just making the problem worse. You're just giving them cheats." And it's no, you're not. This isn't a treat thing. This is for your community. This helps your community. It betters the areas that this happens, because then people see that they can potentially get help, and there's another chance of them getting help, getting out of drug use. And also, there are plans involved with this whole program that are aimed to get people off of drugs. So, I mean, hey, I'm going to be getting into some bullshit that Biden's doing, the Biden administration is doing, but to me, this is a good thing. So, fuck Ted Cruz, fuck Marco Rubio. Sorry. Yeah. But let's get to that bad shit. We're on the good, the bad, and the Biden today. But let's see. Got this from the AP. Biden freezes frozen... Oh, sorry, I read that sentence wrong. Biden frees frozen Afghan billions for relief comma, I don't know why I paused so hard there, 9/11 victims. So essentially there's a fund. There's this fund that has, like, it was accrued from donations and things like that to help the Afghan economy, or not so much help the Afghan people. This was a fund that was established over time. And essentially it was frozen. And this is $9 billion that has been frozen in assets that should be allotted to the Afghan people, the Afghan country. But it's been frozen since the Afghan takeover and our withdrawal. So essentially, it's just been on ice. And sadly, the economy in Afghanistan has been in a tailspin since we left. It's not gotten better, obviously. The shit with women and all that kind of stuff has also been bad. But they've been dealing with, the oncoming, winter, just like we have, with lack of food, no money. It's just been hell. It's been bad. I've heard, reports through BBC just talking about just the situation and just how it's degraded, how it's gotten worse in that regard. But we've been held fast to not give them the money because they didn't obtain power correctly and they aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. This isn't a pro-Taliban podcast. I'm not trying to be that guy. But at the end of the day, this is not about the fucking Taliban. And it never was. And never is. Like, the fact that Joe Biden, the administration, has decided that, hey, this money that we've allotted to you, it's not for you anymore. Actually, it's for humanitarian aid that we're going to give you, which we'll get to how that's kind of more of a negative than a positive. But then it's also the other half of this, so it's like 3.5, I imagine, is going to go to 9/11 relief, 9/11 victim relief. And that sounds noble, and that's great. If you're looking through American rose-colored glasses, it's neat, it's cute, and endearingly good. I'm glad we haven't forgot. Never forget. But this is not fair. It's not right what you're doing to a whole group of people who are starving and dying in a whole fucking country. It just doesn't make sense. You're punishing them for crimes they did not commit. Like, Bin Laden was not born there. He was kicked out of his country and moved there. And people who were involved in 9/11 were from Saudi Arabia, which we never ever talk about. It just doesn't make fucking sense why this makes sense to Biden and how he's just going to push this like, yeah, we're doing the world a solid. And there's some people, there's a guy named Bruce or something, and he has a, quote in here. I should get to it if I was, on my professional shit. But more or less, he was just like, hey, if we don't get equal rights to this money, then it's a betrayal. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Bruce. I'm sorry for your loss. I know you've gone through a lot, but what the fuck, man? Your sorrow is worth a whole Afghan child's life. That makes sense. It's fair. Trauma is real. I get it. I don't know. I should probably get off this before I get too hot about the wrong things. But I do think it's fucked up. I think that you should, if you're going to give them the money, give them all the money. And also, how the humanitarian part is fucked up. They need money to help adjust their fucking currency, to help fix their economic crisis. The humanitarian aid that Biden's providing, he's doing that, and as he said, to thwart and block Taliban, like, from them getting the money and misusing that. I understand that in a logistic kind of thing, but when people's lives are at stake, you just don't have that kind of leverage. I feel like you shouldn't be okay with doing that. But he's like, nah, this is cool. We'll just give them to a bunch of NGOs or nonprofits, and they'll sort it all out. And that'll help in the short term. That'll help get food and some aid. But in the long term, that's money that just got squandered away for this whole country that was allotted to them. So I think it's fucked up. And I'm gonna before we get to the next thing, a little intermission, if you will, a little silence on the hill. Whoa, baba. Okay. Slow motion for me. Let's see. Got some more from USA Today. Oh boy, it's coming back. UN journalists and Afghan nationals detained. Oh, I guess it's from the UN. Journalists and Afghan nationals detained in Kabul released. So this is some good news out of Afghanistan. But essentially, there were some journalists and people, Afghan nationals, helping said journalists who were detained in December. So once again, kind of related to the our Afghanistan withdrawal. I guess they were kind of held because they didn't really trust their credentials or what have you. Maybe it was a little bit diplomatic. I'm not sure. But they were being detained and they were released this week. So that's some good news out of the area. Flowers about that. Sadly, though, there are still, I think, more people who are detained that, we don't know their whereabouts and their condition and status. But at least there was some good news there. I wanted to post that. And lastly, I got some local news. And it's a little bit of a local mix. It kind of popped. I wouldn't say too big in the national, but I did kind of hear it up. But essentially, Dave Chappelle made some news. And I got this from Dayton Daily News. But this is about Ober, which is the housing company. But they are moving Yellow Springs plan forward. Chappelle responds to criticism. So, let me explain. Essentially, Dave Chappelle made some news today, or this week, more or less being accused as being a NIMBY, which is not in my backyard. Essentially, he disputed very loudly that he did not want this housing development put in his backyard, quote unquote. Essentially, he lives in Yellow Springs. I believe he was born there, and then after he blew up and everything, he moved back. He's definitely like almost like a cryptid level experience in Ohio. I know I have friends who go, oh my gosh, I went to Yellow Springs and I saw like Dave Chappelle getting a coffee. It was crazy. So I mean, it's definitely like a big deal in Ohio that he's here, nestled safely. But he's kind of like turned it into his little fiefdom. Like he essentially has put in a lot of money in the town. I believe he said something to the amount of like 64 million or something. I don't know. It was a lot. But essentially he's saying like, hey, I'm putting my money into this town and you're going to put in what he called or he had his spokesperson say, a cookie cutter, sprawled out development. And granted, these developments would be, single family homes for people. So essentially, I mean, to me, that sounds like something that is a good thing on paper. Now, granted, in his defense, he said also that the Ober housing place, they're going to allot so much of that. So it's like some of those homes are going to be $200K, but then the rest of the development they're going to hold off on, and they're going to make that $250,000 to $600,000. So, I mean, there is a chance, too, that maybe this isn't a NIMBY kind of thing, and it really is just him saying, like, hey, I'm putting a lot of time and work into this town. I don't feel like it's worth it. And also, mind you, too, obviously, Dave Chappelle's being scapegoated for it because he is the biggest reason he has the most money up for it and everything in the town. But there's other, neighbors who are also against it, who I imagine also had money stakes in the town as well. But essentially, he went on to say, like, he had, like, 2 buildings that he's bought out, like, an old fire department and I believe an old school or something like that. And he wants to make one thing a comedy club and some other stuff. That's not really related to the development, but these are the things that he's putting up into the town versus this development. But all that being said, the development is going to go through. It's just going to go through now in a different layout. So essentially now what's going to be proposed is a $300,000 rollout of houses. So it's going to be $100,000 more per house. But I guess they're going to look nicer, maybe placed a little differently. I don't know, maybe a little bit more organic. I don't know. At the end of the day, though, when I think about it a lot, I'm a little bit torn. And I don't know if it's because I have a little bit of bias, because, deep down, I always remember the Dave Chappelle I love. But I think at the end of the day, it does suck to see people on some Karen shit, that they're trying to defend their money interests, their quote-unquote capital interests, over what potentially is going to help people. I would like to think that Dave Chappelle is using foresight here and saying, hey, these initial rollouts aren't going to be as good as you think they are. Maybe there is something to that. But But yeah, just something I wanted to talk about, put in your ear, have you think about. Pretty much that's all we got for today. Let's see, shill time. Let me hop into shill mode. Got a Patreon, patreon.com, so that's Isaiah News. $5 gets you in the club, baby. You become a newsy, baby. Put you on my Discord. We can talk. Nice channel for people. Let's see what else we got. Isaiah News 1 at gmail.com. We got Isaiah_news. That's the Twitter. I think Isaiah News 1 might be the Facebook. And then Isaiah News is the Instagram. You can find me on the internet, is what I'm trying to tell you. I hope you do. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. And I hope I talk to you soon. And when I do, I hope it's good news. Anyway, I love you. Bye. Mwah.